welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute delight to be joined by the fabulous Ernesto Mandowsky. Ernesto, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. Happy to be here.
I'm so looking forward to this conversation. I know it's going to be packed full of insight, but before we get stuck in, let me share with those watching and listening a little bit more about you. So Ernesto is the founder of MDM, a training firm that transforms businesses into million-dollar machines. Tapping into the powers of systems and automation, Ernesto has developed an integrated growth system designed to multiply revenue and maximize freedom. His personal mission is to democratize business transformation tools and shares insights through the million-dollar machine platform. Outside of work, Ernesto enjoys reading books, baking challah bread, working out, and spending time with his wife in Miami. Amazing. I love that it's that whole machine piece. It terrifies lots of people to say. That as soon as you start to say those words like machine and automation, then people start to glaze over. So tell me about your journey, Ernesto. What got you here and what's driving you forward?
Yeah, well, what got me here was a passion that I think we all share, and that is food and connection.
Yeah.
My family's from around the world. A few times a year growing up, we'd get together in Miami, and I was just really have all those memories of like dancing in the living room and large family meal. We're like Italian and French, and we have Hispanic origin, and so it's always like a lively energy.
Mm.
And when I was 18 years old, I hosted my own experience, my first entrepreneurial experience, where I rented out a nightclub and partnered with 15 different people and threw a party for 2,000 students to celebrate our graduation. And I said, wow, this is like that same energy that I experienced as a kid. And so that night I said, I'm going to go into restaurants. And I didn't go to culinary school. I went to engineering school because I was always fascinated with how things worked. So through studying systems engineering, I understood how do you connect the dots? How do you build machines? How do you start like understanding factory production? And I said, let's apply this into restaurants. And so for the next 10 years, I spent my time in Fortune 500, in restaurant groups, in tech startups. And what I learned, what we were talking about earlier in the conversation, so many companies are investing in technology, but so few of them are actually following through and the people are actually implementing them. It's like the food waste problem. So many restaurants are buying so much food, but things are getting thrown out. And so I realized that if you could create a way, a mechanized way that people are actually feeling amazing about their work, feeling amazing while they're growing and contributing to an organization, you can build a high-performing business. And so that led to starting Million Dollar Machine and my full-on entrepreneurial path that I'm on today.
I love that. It's so very true. I think whatever industry we're in, whatever operation that we're running in, if we can get it right for the people, then we can get it right for everybody else. I always think in any organization, you've got three people that you're trying to please. So you've got to please the company, as in, is it doing what the company needs? Are you making money? Because if not, you don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But that won't happen unless you please the client, because if you don't please the client, they're not going to pay to be
you.
A member of the company. And so the company can't win. We aren't going to get the clients. And then the third one, and the one that I often see missed in so many organizations, is the colleague. So actually, if we're not doing what's right for the colleagues, if we're not creating an environment for them to thrive and to grow and to feel like they're adding to that growth, they're not going to deliver the service to the client. The client's not going to be part of it. So they're all intrinsically linked, aren't they? But they're seen as totally separate elements. Is that something you've come across?
Well, in all of my businesses and experience through studying systems engineering, the idea is create something that is integrated and connected, but everywhere is siloed. Teams are siloed, divisions are siloed, tools are siloed, nothing's connected. And because information is not connected, it actually contributes to so much overwhelm inside of the company, inside of the clients, and inside of the colleagues. People like are getting so scattered when they're looking for a file inside of their Google Drive or in their Canva repository or in their Salesforce, and it's like death by a thousand cuts. It's these tiny moments. They're like invisible almost.
Yeah.
People don't even realize is contributing to the overwhelm, but like it's through connecting all of these tiny millions of atoms in the company that lead to the spiraling growth for any business.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Because we get stuck as well. Yeah, and we were chatting earlier before we came on the show about the fact that very often, as the founder or the owner, you become both the catapult and also the bottleneck in your own organization, because you know how it works and you know how things are going to really work and grow. But how do you get your knowledge, what's in your head, out to the people that work with you so that they can do it your way, and we can all be confident that we grow in that and add their own parts to it, but that we're growing in the same direction. And I think therefore, having that mechanism, having that structure. And I spent a lot of years working in financial services, and therefore governance was one of the things that we had to do a lot of. And I think governance is a great thing, and making sure we understand how we've got to do things, and then we've got checks and measures in place to ensure it happened, which is a kind of like a simple machine piece in engineering. But the minute you say governance to people, they literally start rocking. No, governance is
No governance.
No governance, make it stop. And yet I spent 30 years doing sales. It's like governance was the thing that got you the sales. You've got to do the consistency for you to be able to have the scalability. So how do you help people to put those to move that mindset and start to think about putting in those mechanisms to enable them to have that growth, to have that machine almost approach to what it is they're doing?
Well, you got to start with a client first approach.
Yeah.
So you mentioned three stakeholders in your process. There's the company, there's the client, and there's the colleagues. The agent of the organization, of the client, of the company, is the founder. Yeah. So the first sale, the first emotional buy-in is helping the founder recognize that what I do is around multiplying revenue and maximizing freedom.
Yeah.
And, that sounds like a great marketing title, but I mean, think about it. Like when you go deeper into multiplying revenue, it's like, hey, if you could automate your sales process, or if you could implement Zapier, or if you could now hire a team that is selling for you, like that is multiplying revenue.
Yeah.
What happens after you make a ton more money? Hopefully you have the time to enjoy it. Hopefully you can now have the freedom to enjoy your money, or enjoy your family, or enjoy traveling and doing what you love, baking challah bread. That's, I include that specifically in my title so people know, what do I do with my freedom? And so getting them to buy into that, because a lot of people are like, oh, let's grow the business. Let's grow the business. They forget the freedom part. They forget to continuously optimize for that. And now you're in this amazing, high performing business, but you're a slave to it.
Yeah.
So I first get them to buy into that idea, because if they don't buy into that, then all the systems, recommendations, and change, it's just so much mental energy to make that transition.
I love that, because you're right. It has to be both, doesn't it? We've got the revenue, and then to get the freedom, we need to automate. We need to trust our team. So very often there can be automation elements. It can be leadership development elements. But if you've got just the revenue without the freedom, you become slave to your business. If you've got freedom and no revenue, you have no business, do you? So you've kind of got to balance both.
You're just sides. A hippie. You're just floating in the world.
Enjoying yourself. But why would you say then that the rate of failure is so high when people try these things and they put them in? What is it that holds them back?
So I mentioned earlier this idea of overwhelm. Overwhelm is almost invisible inside of our day-to-day. it's happening thousands of times when we can't find the file, where we look at our task list and it's 20 items deep. We look at our follow-up list and there's 35 people. So every time we open up our internet browsers and there's 50 tabs open, there's all these little signs that are, it is overwhelming. There is so much information in your space. And I think it's this overwhelm that kills organizations on the individual level. When people look at this, depending on the source, you'll find anywhere from 70 to 90% of small businesses will fail in the first 5 years. And I believe that a big part of that high rate of failure is because early founders, newbies, if you may, they have never experienced this infinite pouring of information inside of their space. And because they don't have the discipline to create the structure or limit or like magnify their focus on smaller things, they're just gonna just stay in the overwhelm and, oh, I'm overwhelmed, and they keep reinforcing the story of being overwhelmed, that they manifest the future of being overwhelmed, and that leads to that failure.
I love that. It's so true, isn't it? I mean, I remember my very first time running my first business when I was 18, thinking it was great. I've got a great idea. And then on day one, being terrified, going, oh my God, I'm HR, I'm IT, I'm payroll. I'm like, I didn't have those skills. I could do the thing that I knew how to do. And we can sometimes get very lost in that, where we think we've now got to learn how to be good at all of those things, and learn that actually the best thing for our business is for us to be doing what we're best at all of the time, and then building the system and the infrastructure around us to get other people that are great at the things that we're not good at to add that value, instead of us, like you said, I've got to learn how to build a website now. It's going to take I don't know how to do it.
It is such a mindset shift. I mean, Dan Sullivan's idea of who, not how, and everyone says the same thing in a different way. Gay Hendricks says the zone of genius, unique ability. But I think another like big shift that people can make is this idea that a smaller slice of a pie that's 10 times as large is more than the whole pie with nothing in it. So a bit of like the letting go process. People are, the economy and the news and everything's scarcity and the budget everything's going down and it's going down. So people are like going to Fiverr and they're looking for the cheapest resources out there. And sometimes that's not going to get you what you need. You get what you pay for. And so people can realize like, okay, maybe I'm giving 5% away of my company, but like this person or these people or this team of people are going to come in and catapult me to the moon. Whether that's you, me, a marketing agency, whoever, but it's that shift that people can make.
It is that mindset piece, isn't it? Because like you say, we hang on and go, yeah, but I have to give away all of my control. And it's like, well, you could have 100% of something that's worth 50p, or you could have like 70% of something that's worth 100 million. Which one is actually?
Which one do you want?
Put a smile on your face. Which one? But it is that letting go. And I know sometimes I talk to some clients, and there was some research. When people are getting ready for to retire, sell the business, but it's not quite worth what they want it to be worth yet, and they bring in an MD, and in 85% of cases it fails. And the reason it fails is they bring in an MD in their likeness, because they believe that actually if it was just in their way, it would grow. And instead of that, that being able to let go. And like I always liken it to, imagine you're a parent and your child is now ready to go to university, and you go, where do you want them to go? Do you want them to go to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Cambridge, or do you want them to go to the local university down the road? And people will all go, well, yeah, Harvard, Stanford, Yale. I mean, it's like, right, in that case, like you've got to get a Harvard, Stanford, or Yale professor. There is no point you bringing in somebody who can teach down the road. If you want to get to that next level, you've got to trust that that's still your child, that's still your baby. But actually, you can give that into trust to other people that are actually going to accelerate that growth, that are going to be able to help it be the best it can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still
Mm-hmm.
yours. It's still you that brought it together. But going through that mind shift can be quite a challenge for people, can't it?
Oh yeah, I love that idea. What you said, like that's a great story. Actually, a great like metaphor to use. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Well, I think sometimes it's easy for us to understand the things when we bring them into everyday life that we can think about.
Relate to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, God, yeah, I do. I would.
That I mean, that is part of the reason why now I am using. I mean, you said it right. You say machine, you say systems. The eyes glaze over, people freeze. The nervous system just goes into full on flight mode, and I like to tell stories now through restaurants.
Yeah.
I like to use, because everyone goes out to eat or maybe if they not as often, they cook at home, like they understand this idea of food.
Yeah.
And when people can relate to, hey, it's very important every day to clear inbox, reschedule all incomplete tasks, reschedule all Salesforce follow-ups. If they liken that to the idea that at the end of the day, a chef breaks down their station, takes a toothbrush and is literally cleaning every single nook and cranny of their oven so that the next day when they come into work, it's ready to go. People can make that connection to, oh, that's why I have to clear my task list, clear my inbox, clear all these things. So I have a clear state of mind as I go home and enjoy my freedom.
Yeah.
It's these stories that people can relate to.
I love that, because I think it's the one thing that connects us all globally, irrelevant of our age, our race, our gender, our culture, is we all teach and we all learn through stories. We've been doing it since the cavemen stories and the hieroglyphics. So it's like when we put it into a story, it makes it accessible. And once we make it accessible, then people can run with it. So the glaze drifts, doesn't it? Oh, it's not as scary as I thought it was. Actually, it is just really simple. And I love that you share stories with food, because my go-to freedom place is cooking. It's like, if ever anything's getting really tough, I'll go and bake something or cook something.
This just came to me. The glaze over your eyes becomes the glaze over a pastry, and you're like, "Ooh, I want that."
It's so true though, isn't it? Because I often use the analogy that says, if you're baking something, if you miss out an ingredient, it ain't going to taste very nice, is it? Particularly if you miss out one of the most important ingredients, which kind of got me thinking about one of the things we chatted about earlier about the 5 recipes. Because if you're not following those, then you ain't going to have a good meal at the end of it, are you? So could you share with us a little bit more about what they are?
Yeah, so there are 5 recipes in every organization, and having these will help you become $1 million machine. The first one is the transformation. And when I say transformation, it can mean many things to many people. It's the client transformation. What is the offer that you are delivering to the clients that they can experience a transformation from A to B? There's usually a set of steps that are required to do that. Onboarding call, a couple of sessions, you're producing some sort of reports, or you're delivering some sort of service, you're collecting feedback, you're iterating on that product, you're closing, and that is the transformation, takes them from A to B. It's just like when you are cooking a dish, there's a set of steps that any chef follows, a procedure. And so having clarity over that allows you to now train other people to deliver that transformation. It doesn't need to be the founder every single time. The second one is connection. And connection is having that deep awareness over all your relationships in your ecosystem, because people think of like, oh, who are the connections I want to have? And they're like, oh, all my clients, I need more clients. And they just keep thinking client. But they can reshape that and say, oh, if I connect with referral partners or resellers or distributors or podcast hosts or community members, nonprofits. These are all different connections that can actually amplify your reach to clients. I can create one strategic partnership and unlock 100 clients from that one relationship. And so opening yourself up to different types of connections and using tools like a CRM to keep track of those connections. The third one is communication. It is the telling of your story, of your message, of what it is that you are doing. Communication is done on social media, on emails, on webinars, on platforms, on podcasts, just like this one. And it is used to amplify that message so that more people hear it, so that you in turn increase connections, which increases the transformation, which everything feeds on each other.
Yeah.
And when you think of these first three recipes, every business says that they are very familiar with that. We do marketing, we deliver transformations, we have sales teams, we do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But what sets organizations apart, there's a statistic recently in the US Small Business Administration where they said like 80% of small businesses, which they define as businesses below 500 employees, 80% of them are solopreneurs. And I don't know what this is like in the UK or in Europe, but most people like working by themselves. And I say, I don't know if it's they like it or they don't like it. I just think they don't know how to actually build a company. They don't know how to build an organization. And so the fourth recipe is organization. An organization is when you think about, earlier we were saying, oh, you do sales and you do IT and you do HR. Organization is actually building out these teams, aligning these teams with tactics, which are the playbooks, how they do things, and then implementing tools so that you could accelerate that. It's the meetings, it's the reviews, it's all of the mechanical aspects of building a business. Mm. And most people say, oh man, the machine, that's the part that I'm scared about. But when you can hire a group of people to help you do that, when you can hire a group of people, whether they're consultants, contractors, advisors, investors, you can now create an environment where everyone can actualize as a person. And that's the fifth recipe, actualization. So when there's a team of people where they are also personally multiplying their own revenue and maximizing their own freedom inside of a company, now you have a recipe for $1 million machine. Like, this is a company that delivers transformations, is continuously building connections, communicating the message, continuously getting more efficient, and a great place to work for. That's an amazing asset that entire society can benefit from. And so those are the 5 recipes.
I love it. And it's so true. When we build that, that's great. And you mentioned about, the number of solopreneurs, and it's very similar over here in the UK and Europe. But I think for me, one of the things I've found in chatting to a lot of them is, when you really dig into, is it because you like working on your own? That comes down actually more to a fear of increased responsibility. Because as entrepreneurs, when we first set up, you are trusting your own ability to be able to build the business, but also to be able to pay rent, pay your mortgage, look after your family, live your life. So because it's on you, isn't it? It's down to just you. And one of the stumbling blocks I see with people is when they first go to hire the first person on the team, they feel that their responsibility doubles, because now actually they still think it's on them to ensure that actually now both of you can eat. It's like, well, actually, no, this is about giving people some responsibility to help the business grow. So actually, yes, there's 2 mouths to feed, but there's also 2 pairs of hands to do the work.
Correct.
It's changing that part of that fear element, isn't it? Because fear is often the thing that holds us all back from making any inroads forward, even if that fear isn't very plausible. It feels so real, and it can be the thing that we're like, well, I'll just do it when. So I know we've chatted throughout that, systems could be the thing that people put on their pending pile because it's like just too scary. But where can entrepreneurs start with systems? Where's an easy place for them to go?
So I think the first system entrepreneurs must start with, and when I say, everyone says system, what does that mean? A system is just aligning, who does what with what tools. So the first system is that transformation,
Yeah.
is that core offer that they deliver to people. Because, what good is it to improve my sales process if I go from, 2 clients to 10 clients, if I don't know how to deliver that service? So people can start like with absolute clarity on, okay, what is that 25-step checklist to deliver the service? Okay, now I'm very clear on it. Now I personally can deliver it, let's say 5 times. If I want to do it 10 times, maybe, I do need to bring a second set of hands.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be full time. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, another full time. Now, part time, everyone can do things differently. But now, I can, this is what it takes to deliver 10 clients. So starting with that transformation.
I love that, because that really simple step allows you to work out at what point, I often get asked this question, when do you start to recruit? So, where do you put that? So having that clarity on transformation that you've just talked about, where you go, well, I know I could do 5, but to get to 10, I need to do something else. So actually, once I start to hit 4, I probably need to start thinking about bringing somebody in, so that actually I'm not that maxed out at 5. I haven't got the time to invest on bringing them on board and getting them ready for number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So that whole system just allows people to have better ability to appropriately plan, because that's often the thing that we don't do. We kind of get to the point we need somebody and then go, oh, now I need to find them, but I'm maxed out and I can't. So having that first part of the process must help people to better plan that.
Yeah. And, I would say literally yesterday, I was at an event networking, and it was for earlier stage entrepreneurs, like very earlier. And someone gave me a huge shout out for the help that I've been providing them. And during the networking breakout, someone came up to me and they're like, oh, what do you do? And I started explaining to them. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not ready yet. And I think that's a recurring story that we all have. I'm not ready yet. Or when I am X, I will, kind of like the have, do, be kind of thinking, like, when I have this, then I can, start this process. And I just want to mention that every day is about improving. Like, every day is about moving, not 1%, but, creating these 10%, 15, 30% increases in your productivity. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve the escape velocity that an early stage business needs to make it. There's just not enough time past 3, 4, 5 years to like make it before burning yourself out. A lot of these solopreneurs, they're invisible to this overwhelm that we mentioned, but they are burning themselves out, or they're not pushing it to the limit, and they're solo employees. They're not really achieving the growth that they want. And so the people listening, like, you are ready today to start systems. Maybe not ready to hire a 50K COO or hire, this massive, but you're ready today to take your own steps to being more efficient tomorrow. Because as you take these steps, you'll see in just 30 days, you could be a totally different person when it comes to getting work done.
I love that. It's so true. It reminds me, Ernesto, of my grandparents gave me 2 bits of advice in life. My nan was to make every day a school day. So in every day, learn something, evolve.
I love that.
And my granddad's was live each day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right. And what I took from that was,
wow,
you've got to learn in every day, and you can't put off to some unknown. When this happens, it will be perfect, because we don't know what's promised. So all we have is right now, and we have to make the best decisions that we can in that. And I love your part there, using that. It is, you are ready now. maybe not to take on the world, but to take the next step. And I think for me, that's the piece, isn't it? It's like we sometimes wait until we can see the whole staircase. And I think it was Michael Jordan that said, you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the next step, which seemed to sum up our chat today. It's been amazing. I could chat to you all day, but I'm conscious of time. So how can people get in touch with you and get to work with you?
So the first step I encourage everyone to do is have clarity over that future goal. People say, I want to make 300K, and they're at 50K today. Or I want to make $1 million, and I'm at 200K. It's like, okay, so how are you going to do that? Like, how are you going to break down the numbers of making $1 million in revenue? And so what I've created is this scorecard. It is a very simple 4-question assessment. I'll tell you the questions: where you are today, how many clients you have, where you want to go in the future, and what's your business model. And through those questions, they will receive their personalized scorecard. They will receive a series of videos. And if they're interested, part of my mission is to democratize transformation. So I offer free strategy sessions for people so that they are clear on how they're going to do that. Whether they work with me or someone else, that's fine. But I want people to be clear about how they're going to achieve their goals. And so you can click the link below and fill out your scorecard. And if you're interested, schedule time to chat.
Amazing. Ernesto, it's been such a delight, and all the details of how to get in touch with you will be in the show notes below. So anybody listening or watching, I do suggest you get in touch and just give it a try. Without clarity and without confidence, we don't stand a chance. And the first step to confidence is clarity, I think. Ernesto, thank you so very much for sharing such insight and sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kim, for the invite.
Pleasure. And to everybody listening and watching, thank you so much for being with us today. I hope you also found it useful. Until next time, take care.